The Korean Presbyterian Church of Bayside Small Group Bible Study. By Reverend David Lee. Lesson number 181. To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Psalms 123 verses 1-4. A Song of Ascents. To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maidservant to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, till he has mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord, have mercy upon us, for we have had more than enough of contempt. Our soul has had more than enough of the scorn of those who are at ease, of the contempt of the proud. Amen. According to the psalmist of today's passage, where is God? And what does this teach us? Some biblical scholars think that the backdrop of today's text, Psalm 123, is during King Hezekiah's reign when the Assyrian army invaded Judah. Verse 3 mentions that Israel received contempt and derision. The king of Assyria, Sennacherib, invaded Judah and mocked both King Hezekiah and God. During the first invasion, Judah gave them gold and silver treasures to avert disaster, but Assyria soon invaded again. This time, Judah had nothing left to give, and the nation was captured. In response, King Hezekiah entered the temple, laid Sennacherib's letter before the Lord, and prayed earnestly for God's intervention. Then, miraculously, Sennacherib's Assyrian army was defeated when the angel of the Lord struck down 180,000 enemy soldiers overnight. When we read today's text with this context in mind, it helps us understand its meaning. Hezekiah prayed during Judah's crisis. In verse 1 he cried out, To you I lift up my eyes, O you who are enthroned in the heavens. The phrase enthroned in the heavens signifies God's sovereignty over everything, highlighting his greatness and grandeur. Though we cannot see him, God becomes visible through eyes of faith, as we can see throughout creation. God suspended the immense stars in space and controls them with astonishing precision, so they maintain their positions. The earth rotates at 1,000 miles per hour, and orbits the sun at 100,500 miles per hour. Yet, we feel none of this motion. All these phenomena attest to God's living presence. God showed Abraham the stars and promised him, Your descendants shall be as numerous as those countless stars. At the time, Abraham had no descendants, which made it difficult to believe in this promise. However, when Abraham accepted God's promise in faith, it was fulfilled. God had Abraham look at the stars not only to visually demonstrate the multitude of his descendants, but also to assure him that the promise would surely be fulfilled by the Lord who created and controls the countless stars in space. Beloved church, when we look up at the sky, we too must believe in the Lord. Because he has made himself evident in everything he created, we can be sure of God's presence when we look up at the sky. In this sense, the psalmist of today's passage stated that he lifted up his eyes to look at the Lord who dwells in the heavens. Psalm 123, like Psalm 122, bears the title, A Song of Ascents, which clarifies the meaning of the text. The psalmist instructs those who were journeying to the temple to lift their eyes to the Lord. For us, this means we must move forward while looking to God, who will pour his grace on us. The psalmist compares this to servants looking to their master's hand, and a maidservant looking to her mistress's hand. Servants had to watch their master's hand, because the master had power over their lives. Servants could not rest or eat until the masters gave them the command. They had to be attentive to their master's hand. This can be seen in dogs. When mealtime arrives, dogs often sit by the master who feeds them. Even if the master pretends not to notice and eats, dogs stare intently, without even blinking. They wait to be given something to eat, often staring so intently that it's hard to ignore. If the master continues to eat without looking at the dogs, they may start making sounds, grunting or barking, seeking attention for food. Then, eventually, the master gives in and feeds the dogs what he has already prepared for them. This means the master has already prepared to give something to the dogs. But if the dogs do not come to the master, they cannot eat what has been prepared for them. Dear church, I believe that the Lord our Master has prepared to give us what we need. But it is crucial that we look to him and pray earnestly, for he gives only when we seek him, so that we will be certain that it is by his grace alone that we can live. And thereby, we will be able to testify that God is alive. The psalmist of today's text was in a very difficult plight. He was overwhelmed by the derision and contempt of most likely King Sennacherib of Assyria and Rabshakeh, his army commander. Rabshakeh uttered unspeakable words of mockery to King Hezekiah and God. Thus, the psalmist looked to God and prayed for his grace. He believed in God's omnipotence, that the God who created the heavens could swiftly resolve everything. He yearned for the Lord, like a servant's attentiveness to his master. As a result, the angel of God went out, and 183,000 Assyrian soldiers were annihilated overnight. As we think about this, we as believers must acknowledge that the Lord is the Almighty One who created all things with just His word. Thus, He can dismantle an immense enemy force all at once. And those of us who believe this must lift our eyes to the Lord who dwells in the heavens, and seek His help in whatever situation we may find ourselves in. And when God answers and delivers us, we must acknowledge that it was God who accomplished it. For this reason, Jesus always prioritized prayer. And whenever He accomplished something, He sat with His disciples and showed them that that was the result of their prayers. Thus, no matter what we face, we must always look to the Lord. Then we will see God accomplish His will. Do you believe that God is the one who created the heavens and the earth? Have you ever experienced that God is Almighty? Let us share our accounts with one another. Let's discuss what you have learned and determined to do through today's word.